When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
Let me tell you, you folks have not lived until you've had the chance to see a soon-to-be best-selling author doing dabs right here in the second floor. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome, everybody, to Esper Genesis. It is day 22, episode 22 of Esper Genesis, what I am not so cleverly calling Enemy Mine. And it is my great pleasure to welcome everybody to Esper Genesis and live from the International Conference for the Fantastic in the Arts, where we are all hanging out. And I am joined here live and in person, as I will discuss in a minute, by a certain notable individual. And this now makes, it was a cool, underrated movie. I agree, Ardnell, very, very underrated. But this is going to be the second time that we've done a live sort of in-person thing. I did one of these with Johnny, Video Store Cowboy at PAX Unplugged last year. And now we get a chance to do one with a new person. And that just leaves two people that have not been on the Pokemon list that I have not yet collected, but I will be doing so in a minute. As far as am I broadcasting from the void? Well, okay, so the setup that we have here means that I have to have here, I'm going to move this for just a second. So maybe this is a little better. How's that? Because the way we have this set up right now is that we have the microphones set up to be able to capture myself and to be able to capture Carlos without having double effects. And so this way you should be able to hear both of us, I think, without too much distortion, and the people on the call can hear it as well. And so, I've given away who it is. Well, darn it. Okay, well, now you know who it is. But I will introduce him formally in just a moment. But yes, I'm down here in Florida. I am having having a wonderful time, and tomorrow I've got a reading and I've got a panel and stuff like that. But before I do all that, I want to remind everybody about what we're doing tonight, which is Esper Genesis, and remind you about ways to support the stream. If you have not done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. That is always appreciated. Please check out the YouTube channel with !ArvTube, !ArvCord will get you over to my Discord channel. You can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. !ArvShop will let you check out the merchandise area as well. !ArvTweets will allow you to check out my Twitter. And while we're on the subject, !Tweet will allow you to retweet this stream. Please do this so that people can see the shenanigans on a Friday night that we like to call Esper Genesis. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Patreon sitting at !Arvtreon. You will notice that Patreon has dropped a little bit. We had someone who had to drop out for personal reasons, which is totally fine, obviously, but it means we've dropped a little bit lower. So if people are able to jump in and support, that is much appreciated. It does make a difference for the financial backbone of the channel. And again, you can get cool stuff like inspiring the players. The players are always fans of people who can inspire them. And then last but certainly not least, of course, that sub button right above the sub window, the video window, which will allow you to sub to the stream, and that allows you those awesome emotes and custom sub badges and stuff like that. Tonight we have day 22 of Esper Genesis. Tomorrow night I will be broadcasting live from here as well, but it will just be myself and then all the people remotely as we do D&D with Infinity Beyond Curse of Strahd. Then next week I will be back, and on Tuesday we have a very, very big thing coming up. Tuesday is the Forbidden Library Kickstarter launch. So Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library is launching Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We will probably have the folks from Alligator Alley who are doing this Kickstarter. They will be on with us for probably about 10-15 minutes to chat about this right before the Adventures of Middle-earth stream. So please, if you haven't done so already, mark your calendars, get ready for that. I'm going to be relying on the community to help out, both for this and for future Kickstarters, and I think you folks will like this adventure. This is one that I've done for other authors at the Writer Symposium and Gen Con, so I hope you folks will like checking it out as well. It is also a source book, and so you will see some notable authors that may have some connection to authors that you will see tonight who may be contributing to this as stretch goal people as well. But any support you can give to that would be much appreciated. But enough about that. Now the time has come, so I'm going to unmute myself in here so the rest of the folks know we are ready to go, and then I'm going to unmute myself, or rather unmute them, I should say, in Zoom. And the laughter is a good sign, maybe. And now I'm going to swing over to the crew. There is the crew with this. And yeah, let me just make sure. So we can hear, you can hear us.
Yes.
Yes.
They can hear you. Can you chat hear? You can hear all of me, but can you hear this gentleman?
Hello, I am this gentleman. Hi.
Can you hear that gentleman?
Are you hearing the gentleman?
Are you hearing the gentleman as we speak?
Hi, I'm a gentleman.
Wait for it, wait for it. Chad is so stunned by the gentleman that they don't even want to respond. Can you hear this chat? Or has my chat frozen? I hope that is not the case. I hope I have not dropped frames. I may be dropping frames, maybe. You hear, but it's softer than mine. That's fine.
You, yeah, you're actually
speak louder.
Yeah, you're buffering a little bit. That should be back now, I think, maybe. We're going to have some issues with, we will have some issues with this a little bit. You're going to have to bear with us on the buffer because we are doing this live on Wi-Fi. You're still processing the term gentleman talking about sleep well? Wow. Wow. That's you know, listen, that's some harsh words. Okay. Con Wi-Fi sucks. All right. How are we, actually, you know what I realized? It's a bit, you know why I realized too? I think I have the wrong ingest server. So I'm going to stop the stream for a minute. I'm going to keep recording. I'm going to stop the stream and I'm going to change servers. So bear with me as I switch servers.
Also moving closer to you if you want to move the microphone.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Let's do that. Okay.
okay. Just as an FYI, the buffer size right now is 30 seconds.
Yeah. I know. That's because I think it was the servers that I need to fix. So let me address that right now. All right. Stop streaming. I'll be right back. Okay. We are going to adjust that server. I should have done this beforehand. I forgot. I'm going to go with Miami, which makes a lot more sense than New York for where we are.
Yeah, just because you're like, maybe, geographically close or something.
I just, that's of course assuming that Twitch has any idea about any of these things. Okay. Now we should be back up and running with a different Ingest server. How is this? Refresh. Okay, we're back now. Can you hear us? Can you hear us okay? Can people in chat hear us now? Can you hear us? Yes, you can hear us. Seems better? Okay, good. Lovely, lovely.
Can you guys hear us? Is the question. Who cares about you guys there at the con?
Yeah, what really matters is can you hear the other folks?
Yeah, are you at home or not?
Can you hear, so you can hear Johnny and Kat? Can you hear those? All clear, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, Carlos, go ahead and speak again.
Here's Carlos speaking in terms of trying to speak and wants to be heard, and he's speaking things. Words are falling out of his mouth.
How does that sound? Did you guys hear all that? Did you guys pick that up? Did you pick up what was said? Yes. Yay! All right, good. We're all good to go.
Excellent.
Cool. All right. That means that I can continue my introduction. We will start with the gentleman all the way to the left, who's coming to us from the left coast, where they believe in cultish computers like Apple, and that is, and that of course is Mr. Johnny Pittman, also known as Video Store Cowboy. Hello, Johnny. How is life in the universe? And how are you? And who are you playing tonight, sir?
So wait a minute, did we not do a pre-stream poll and talk about how many actual Macs were around the virtual table? I think it came down to there was more virtual Macs than there were, or more Macs than PCs.
As I say, cults are a thing, and I'm not responsible for your cult. That's all.
No, things are good here. Dealing with terrible allergies out here because we're getting some actual beautiful sunshine and we're getting some relatively warm weather. So I apologize if I have to sneeze or if I sound off. It might actually help my cause voice.
Yeah, I got you. Yes.
So I will be playing Aramis tonight, who is a Ashenford melder who has now hit level 4 and has some fun things that he wants to do. Hopefully he gets to do them. And I'm looking to talk to Alfred and a half.
Yes, that exactly. I am looking forward to that as well. Trust me, none more than me. I'm looking forward to that. Moving right along, we have someone whose window I have to adjust. I notice, mostly because I have to fit in the antennas is basically the reason, and that of course is Kat Rambo, who I really am actually interested to find out exactly how she's doing and where exactly you got these awesome things, which I think this is canon, by the way. Like, I think this is totally what an Ashen Forged, Sentinel would be using. So, yeah. But how are you doing, Kat? Where did you get these things, and who are you playing?
So last night I was at a fundraiser for a terrific local group called the Bureau of Fearless Ideas, which works with kids ages basically grade school through high school, doing tutoring after school. And I was part of a skit in which I played an alien. So this was my costume, and I brought it home and felt it was fitting for Esper Genesis. And I will be playing Petrosinis, a Ashen Forged Sentinel with a very large hammer, and maybe dealing back.
Yes, and with new powers, like new, like improved strength abilities and things like that, like attacking attacking twice, right? Isn't that part of the mix today, or right that I heard?
To up my stats last time because I hit level 4.
Oh, that's right.
And I did add 2 to Dex. So it may not be quite as ridiculous as before.
Yes, I am looking forward to seeing how Petra does with this, and more, work with Tezora and everyone's favorite Dunduzi. But we will see how that all goes down coming forward just a little bit. Always a pleasure to have Kat with us. Now, this next gentleman is with us live in person, and before I introduce him, I'm just going to show this thing I got. So all y'all can be jealous because this right here is an autographed copy of Sal and Gabby Break the Universe. So Yeah, if you're like, wow, what is that amazing? Where can you get this? The answer is your local bookstore, or Amazon, or Barnes and Noble, or Books A Million, or one of the many other bookstores that are out there. Not that they're closing every day. I mean, there's millions of these. No, many of these bookstores. And if you're lucky, you can actually get a copy. And if you happen to have connections, you can maybe actually know the author himself. So I'm very excited about it. He was kind enough to sign this to myself and to my daughter. And he gave me a copy, which was very kind of him, and I'm going to be reading this to my daughter, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome because it has like 6 quadrillion star reviews, so it's pretty awesome. So you should definitely check that out. I'm actually thinking down the line, I'm thinking like one-shot role play in the Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, thing would be pretty sweet. So it'll be cool. And that of course is Mr. Carlos Hernandez, who, since his video is frozen, I'm just gonna do this.
Hello, it's me.
Just for a moment. So that is Carlos, who is not the Dungeon Master. Let's be clear. The Dungeon Master. So how are you, Carlos? How has ICFA been for you? Who are you playing?
So this is my first time at ICFA. Great conference. Like it's very much an academics conference. So people are presenting these recondite papers. That involve all of this minutia that I absolutely adore about fantasy. So it's great stuff. And got to do a reading today. It was really well received. And just read a different section from Sal and Gabby. I want to say to everybody out there in the stream, like, if you DM me in Discord or however can contact Greg, I would be happy to send you a book plate with the signature on it as well, and I'll personalize it for you as well as a special reward for being a person who watches Esper Genesis. So thank you out there. So
see? That's what I'm talking. Now that's right. That's what I'm talking about. Now, for those of you who were yelling about how Sleepwell would not be an honorable gentleman, you can feel bad now.
Yeah,
that's fine. You can feel bad.
You can suck Sleepwell's nose. So, yeah.
That's good stuff. So you're still waiting on your autographed copy of Gray Shade. So am I, Brahms. It's funny you should mention that. I will. I'll let you know as soon as I get my own autographed copies. But anyway, so yes, we got perks. It was very exciting. Yes, these fine folks are joining me today as we move on. Now, Zach will not be with us today because Zach, as we speak, is hanging out with the kids. He is doing the drumline stuff, and I think he's either practicing for or actually doing today one of his drumline competitions. This is fine so long as he wins. So if he doesn't win, then that will be a problem. I think we will all sort of call him out. But assuming he wins, then that's fine. No pressure though.
And even though he's not with us, we do have Johnny doing the voice of Kaz,
yes,
which is like 96% is good.
Yes, that's right. Johnny is
96%. I'm kind of curious what the other 4% has that I'm doing wrong.
It's the hair.
Really clue in and just let us know.
It's the hair, Johnny. It doesn't quite have the power, the force.
I can go get some Aquanet and just take this all this back here and just have it go like this. It's not going to look pretty though.
And Kat even highlighted that, right? Kat's just see, check out the hair that doesn't exist today, with the with the antennas and everything.
I love it.
It's good stuff. So
next time, Johnny, you could just use chia. You could just go chia.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. The 4% lack of afro. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're down 4% afro, and that's spot on. Yeah, I feel like it's the same. Sure, I think it all works. But anyway, Zach will be back with us next month, next session, which is going to be great. But this session, of course, we have a couple of issues that the group has been working with. So let me unmute the music and get that fired up, and let's talk a little bit about what happened with this crew in our last session. I'm going to turn that down just a bit. How's the music for folks in chat? Is the music okay? Too loud? Too quiet? How's the music? You have a Chia Einstein? That is awesome. That is super cool. So, how is the music, guys, in chat? Can you hear it? Music is good? Lovely. All right, let's do it up. So what we are facing today is as follows. The party has been trying to find parts, or at least originally trying to find parts to fix their repurposed ship, the Hyperlance, which is one of the most dangerous and fastest ships in the galaxy, largely because it is controlled by the power of thought. The problem is that the thing that allows it to be controlled with thought is usually done through an AI known as an Alfred. And the AIs, which the party ran into many, many sessions and months ago, has a little bit of it's a little bit of a loose cannon, sometimes literally. It could theoretically blow up lots of things around them, and that's sort of dangerous. And so the party decided it did not want to have an Alfred, and that instead it wanted to figure out how to keep others from getting the Alfred and to keep others from getting the Hyperlance, because the Hyperlance is a very, very powerful ship, as I said, which other shadowy groups have been trying to get their hands on. After a bunch of stuff that happened at the station called the Peltiveria, if you want to know more about that, you should look at Crisis at Peltiveria, which was much earlier in our session group. The party escaped, pursued by a couple of ships, and on which had stowed several people, one of which was a creature that the party was able to destroy, and one of which, of course, was Sleepwell himself, who revealed himself, and once they ascertained that he was not part of the other group, but happened to be just a second stowaway, the party ended up welcoming him into their midst. But there was still the matter of what happened to this other guy, and the reason that I'm bringing up this other strange creature is because this other strange creature may also have been connected to the ships that were pursuing them from that original station. They jumped through a rift, the Keshite Rift, and ended up at the opposite side of the galaxy. And actually, while I'm on the subject, let me bring up that thing. There we go. The other side of the galaxy, and they ended up through the Ariadne Rift coming here at the Pelsaros region. Now, Pelsaros was well known for being a station where people didn't ask many questions. And the problem with having a station where people don't ask many questions is sometimes you run into seedy types. Some of these seedy types were ones that hopefully were going to help come up with the parts that were necessary to repair the Hyperlance in the situation that they hoped they found themselves. However, when they actually arrived at Pelsaros and found through the use of this one person, Spindra, that she would be able to supposedly help them, it turned out that Spindra was not all that she seemed to be. She took them to another ship, the Tangerel, which was a smuggler ship that she had worked on before, telling them that they could find parts there, spare parts. They did find spare parts. They also found several deadly creatures that had been in stasis and had somehow gotten loose and had destroyed all of the people that remained on the ship who weren't able to escape. These Kanasi were finally defeated by the party, but leaving the ship itself badly damaged and the very low on energy, and the party themselves kind of between a rock and a hard place because Spindra abandoned them in the middle of that fight. And so after some discussion, the party decided they were going to try to go to where this ship had originally been going in the hopes that they could find some things to repair this ship, which would let them get off the planet so they can go back to their old ship and be good with that. So, hold on one second as I welcome in Hatnix with his raid. Thank you, Hatnix. Thank you very much, Hatnix, with the raid. Hold on a second while I adjust that. Thank you, Hatnix, so much. I appreciate it, man. Welcome, welcome. So, when the party, there we go, had been able to do that, the party managed to, through a variety of factors, get to the base, land, and managed to go through the base and try to track down more information about it. They learned that the base was actually being covered by a mysterious group known as the Shadow Technocracy, that in fact the base was a front for this group, and that the Shadow Technocracy apparently was the same group that had pursued them out of Peltiveria many cycles before. And so they managed to defeat one of those creatures, not probably realizing that that was actually the creature that it was, but they actually ended up killing the lieutenant who had been looking for them and been told to look for them, and that gave them a good situation in that they now had a chance to set up, to sort of put down stakes, whether it was going to be here, whether it was going to be back at Pelsaros, whether it was going to be somewhere else entirely, maybe back at Peltiveria. They at least would have the parts necessary. If, that is, they can deal with people that are still left on this base. And so the party ended up going to where they originally encountered this lieutenant who had presented himself to them under false circumstances, under false pretenses, excuse me. They ended up going to his store, and when they went to the back of the store, they ended up finding something very strange. A apparently another Alfred, except an Alfred that had been heavily modified, and which had, if I am correct about this, Kanasi-like blades on its arms instead of sort of the normal Kanasi feet and things that it would normally possess, and instead of the normal Alfred legs. It was kind of a Kanasi-Alfred combo, basically. So they decided that they needed to take this inanimate object with them, and so they put it on a cart, wheeled it out just in time to find a couple of security guards walking in, basically wanting to find out why it is they were taking so long inside this structure, inside this store. And just as they were about to deal with this, they sort of tried to negotiate, try to fool them. That didn't go so well. So the security guards were about ready at that point to challenge them, at which point they heard coming from the cart behind them the very familiar sounding voice of, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what it is that he said, but basically what he said was, "Hello, would the creator like me to end the existence of these obstacle creators?" And that was basically where we left the end of last session. And so as we hand things back over to the party, you are facing two guards, one of whom seems to be just into puberty, or so it sounds, and the other one is kind of an older veteran type. And then behind you, on the cart, which you have not yet turned to look at yet, is supposedly the inanimate Alfred, sort of hybrid Alfred that you found. And so I will now hand things over to the party. What do you want to do about all this?
So I'll just remind everybody that Aramis is still in the guise of the whatever that guy's name was. I can't remember right now because it's it was floating on a disc.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to actually pop up. I think I added all this over, but let me just make sure. Esper Genesis, yes.
But yeah, the dude with no legs who's floating on a hover disc.
Right, that's
There you
right.
go.
You're playing. That's right. And Kaz was playing the disguised self, right? Is that? I believe he was playing the disguised.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, robot.
Right, that's right. Okay. Where's my crew? You are not my crew.
And I think you just missed a pretty big roll.
I don't remember. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I screwed up my my. I guess it was like an intimidate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so when we hear the voice behind us, Aramis kind of does a quick take and looks back. What do I see when I look back?
So when you look back, you see sitting up, looking vaguely Frankensteinian's monster, I suppose, from the cart with the sheet sort of fallen down halfway. You see the Alfred kind of looking at you, and it looks very much like the Alfred that you came into before, except this Alfred looks a little different because he sort of looks like his head is tilted slightly, so he's kind of like this, and you can see that, you can see him sitting there, and his voice, he obviously has just spoken and is kind of looking at you, and again has the same kind of look and features, except again, head is off to the side. And by the way, when he says that, the guards behind, now you don't see, they have, obviously both of them have masks on, but you can see both of them take steps back, and in fact the younger one takes a couple steps back and is like, what is this? Who is that? This is not protocol. And he's like, what is this? What is this? And you can see that his hand is starting to slip down to his pistol, basically.
Can I tell if the Alfred unit is actually looking at me in the sort of the guise of its creator, or is it looking at Kaz or anybody else's?
It seems to be at the moment looking at Sleepwell, but it's not clear whether or not that's just because his head is sort of so you're not 100% sure that that's what he's looking at, but it seems like that's what he's looking at. And actually that's a good question, because obviously one of you may need to respond to him.
So I turn around too and kind of look at the thing and then look back at the guards, look at the thing, look back at the guards, and I say, you all might just want to raise your hands really high above your head right about now.
Okay, so I will need you to make an intimidate check for me. And hold on, because we're losing some frames, so just give me 1 second. Yeah, we got to disconnect, so hold on. Okay, it's going to try to reconnect in just a second. 2. Okay. Okay. Should be back up now. Should be back up now. I hope. Okay. Yeah, this is, again, we're on Wi-Fi, folks, so this is going to happen a few times, probably, so just bear with us when this is happening. Okay, so, yeah, so you said that you were like, you're going to do this, so what I need you to do is to make an intimidation check.
Okay.
You're doing this to the young guy, or by the way, or just both of them?
I am going to focus especially on the young guy, just kind of like turning there, thinking that the older one will probably follow suit if he sees his friend surrender. So I'm really, I'm focusing on the guy who sounds like the teenager from The Simpsons, like,
wow. And the crit from with the wrong. So they okay, so they hear you say this. Oh, come on, drop frames. Come on, drop frames. Shoot. Yeah, bear with me. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Yeah, Miami, Florida is actually worse than yeah, okay. So I think, please tell me that you're consistent now. Okay, all right. So, yes, all right. So that was a crit, in case anyone is curious. And actually, I didn't pop up my dice roller here. I was wondering why they didn't show up. I'm like, where's my dice roller? And that's because I didn't have it up yet. So, there we go. Now we got that up. So now everybody can see it in its lovely splendor. So the 21 intimidate. So he sort of sees, the two kind of are like, there's no need for there's no need for problems. This is highly irregular. There's no need to. And behind you again, Alfred says, understood. Creator wishes destruction protocol to commence in 15, 14.
Sleep well. 13. You need to tell him to pause that.
And he says, pause code input, please. 12, 11, 10.
Tell me the pause input code, please. I ask him.
The creator wishes me to tell him his own pause code.
That's correct.
And there's a long pause. And the guards at this point are all like literally kind of like leaning back out of the door, right? And they just they sort of stare, and then accepted. Pause code is 321568.
321568.
And he says, and then it does the do-do-do-do-do, and it's like, destruct sequence aborted. Does the creator wish me to eliminate all extraneous personnel? And at this point, the young one is like, I'm not extraneous. I'm a security guard of the base. Shut up, the other one says.
So I say, belay that order for now.
And he sort of pauses and nods. Is very well, creator. May I ask the creator why the time of creation was so long from original birth? Now, these are exactly the terms, which are odd terms for him to be using, but and as he's speaking, he does this is not the way the Alfred was totally. He does this, he tilts his head around a little bit, sort of crazily. Yeah.
Alfred, we're in a little bit of a situation right now. I will be glad to answer your question, but for the moment, I'm going to ask for your cooperation with the understanding that I respect you and appreciate you, and will answer your questions in a more timely manner later on.
Very well, thank you, Master. And just like drops like straight back at the cart. And so the guards just kind of like, they, you know, the masks like turn to each other, and the older one says, is that yours?
Yes. Now I'm gonna need you to strip naked.
He says, I'm sorry. I think there's been some damage in my audio. Did you say strip naked?
I need you to strip naked right now. Alfred, are you awake over there?
Yes, Master. Do you wish me to destroy those who do not strip naked?
I turn just back to the guard and say, well, do you wish Alfred to
So
destroy
they,
those?
so they immediately like this, and the young guy is kind of like, sir, I don't think I have protocol underwear. Shut up! Just do what he says. So they're, you know, stripping off, you know, clothing, and these things. Like, let's be clear. In the future, as we all know from watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, nothing is easy to get on and off. All right, it's all unitard. So like he's like trying to, you know, like untie, disconnect, move, and like, you know, getting that. So eventually, when they're down to essentially their skivvies. And this all the time that they've been doing this, by the way, you notice that Alfred has been kind of looking, and then Alfred says, pardon, Creator, but the other two have not yet stripped naked. Should I commence elimination of these threats? And he's staring right at Aramis and Petra and Kaz.
These two are friends, or these three are friends of Master, so no. Consider them immune to orders that I give for general elimination from now on.
Very well. I will make a mark, and then just like back down in the cart.
I love this thing.
And they're sort of like, so the guards are literally kind of, if you won't be, and you can now see them. So the guy, the older guy, has got a scar on his left cheek, and he has this sort of grizzled beard, you know, kind of graying, and you can see that like he looks very much like he's seen through a bunch of, you know, he's seen some stuff. But he doesn't look exactly freaked out, but he looks very respectful of the thing that was just, you know, Alfred. And the other kid does indeed look like a kid, like maybe 17, you know, like you know, year cycles old, and is human, and seems to, or possibly Promethean, but more likely human, and just is kind of like, is sweating, just like profusely sweating, freckles, blonde hair, kind of like, you know, he doesn't feel like he's totally grown into his face yet, you know, like he keeps kind of brushing his hair out of his eyes and stuff, and he's kind of like, oh my god. And meanwhile, Kilobyte with a reset for 21 months. Thank you, Kilobyte. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. As I just make a little notation on this. Thank you. You are my hero on the wind beneath my wings. Thank you. And you guys are going to see more of Kilobyte's work when you see the Kickstarter video, which Kilobyte has just created for the Forbidden Library Kickstarter. It's awesome. So, okay. So thank you so much for the resub, dude. I appreciate it. Where was I? So, yeah. So you could just tell this is the young kid, and you can tell he's just kind of like, sir, I just I wanted you to know that this is not appropriate. This will have to be reported reported at some point, sir.
Really?
Yeah. At some point.
You're going to report.
I mean, not now. In the future.
Right. So you're telling me I've got a killing machine behind you. You're naked in front of me, and you're telling me that you're going to report this.
Well, and like, so he looks over, and there's a famous if the looks could kill, if looks could vaporize, like the old guy at this point would have just like powder on the ground, like the guy's just like staring at him, and he's like, well, maybe not. I'll just be standing here, sir, if you need me, sir.
So, you know, I turn to
trails
Aramis
off.
and Petra and Kaz, and I basically say, we have their uniforms. What do we do?
We get the hell out of here.
That sounds so smart to me.
Okay, and so behind you, you hear Alfred say, would you like, I'm sorry, that's the old man. Sorry, you don't hear that. It's catching. No, he doesn't do that. But he does actually say, would the Creator like me to create an exit from the building?
tell me more. Where would you create this exit?
Anywhere you like, sir, creator. I can create one in the ceiling, in the roof, or if you wish, I can eliminate all potential obstacles around us except for your companions. And the guards kind of look at each other nervously and back at him. And there's a pause, and then Alfred goes, animate or inanimate?
So I kind of just look at everybody else and like,
Don't do that last one. Don't do that one. Do one of the earlier ones, like the wall.
And he says, creator, do you wish your other creation to command me in this affair?
I don't think so. We'll hold off on that for right now.
Very well. Oh, it's gonna be joy.
People are gonna respect Sleepwell. Okay,
You said it was all your fault. The ones in chat, like, if you don't respect Sleepwell, respect this. Oh god.
So yeah, I basically turn to Aramis and say, should we put them in the back? Can we like lock them in the back? Do you think?
I think that's a great idea. And we need to make sure they don't have any tracking devices on them or any type of tracking on their uniforms, because I want to get out of here and I want to get off this damn rock. We got problems, and it's all starting with, and I kind of nod towards Alfred.
And so the one says, oh, we have no tracking devices, sir. Not at all. There's their communicators, but we have none of our... Shut up, says the older guy. Yes, sir. And so the older guy sort of sighs and says, we don't have any tracking devices. We couldn't afford to barely afford to have uniforms and sidearms. Nothing to worry about.
Wait a second.
And then from behind you, you hear Alfred say, does the creator wish me to have the animate objects worry? And the guard's like, no, I mean, that was a figure of speech. Does the creator wish me to eliminate all figures of speech? No, does the creator wish me to eliminate stuttering?
Let's
Stuttering.
delay stuttering eliminations for the moment.
Very well, very well, and kind of falls back down on the cart. Every time that he speaks, by the way, there's this kind of weird whirring noise that you hear from somewhere inside him, and then it sort of winds down again. This is not, the other Alfred was not like this.
I've never met the other Alfred, so
Oh,
this
that's
is like
true.
the best Alfred
That's true.
I've ever met.
That's
in
true.
my entire
That's right.
life.
That's right. You wouldn't know. But for Aramis and for Kaz and for Petra, you guys are like, this does not. This is like a nuts version of Alfred, which I'll just,
This is
Sorry, what?
terrifying.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
just
It's so terrifying that Kaz is speechless.
I think it's pretty great myself, but yeah. So I look at the guards and I say, why don't we take a walk to this back room here? And I
Okay.
just sort of like gesture with a flourish.
So they very quickly follow suit. The older guy somewhat more gracefully than the other, who kind of trips forward, mostly because they're trying to avoid. As they walk by, the Alfred kind of lifts its head again, is like, as they go by. And then when they get to the back room, what do you want to do with them?
So in the back room, just remind me, is there a place to kind of like close the door, lock it?
Yeah. In fact, this place was kind of a secret area, you may remember, in the first place, and so it's not very large, but it's big enough for two people to be there. That was where the Alfred was actually standing up on that like gurney or whatever. So
Are there weapons in there that they might be able to use?
Well, you'd have to do a full search if you wanted to find out. It doesn't look anything like there's obvious stuff. There's a bunch of like things to work on though. There's like gear. I mean, like in terms of like there's gears and metal, and there's like a whole bunch of junk back there. So given time, but it doesn't. You don't see any assault rifles or anything obvious like that.
So I pull the door shut or activate it shut
Okay.
and lock it.
And as you do this, the older one's like, "You'll never get away with," and it closes. And so now it's closed over, and now you are standing in front, and you've got the Alfred on his cart.
The Alfred can make a hole. Should it make a hole?
Are you asking us if that thing should be whole?
If it should make a hole.
Oh,
if it should make a
hold.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. No, we'll just escort him on the gurney. Sleep well. This is incredibly important. He will attract more attention than anything else that you or I or Petra or cause.
Oh, you broke up a little bit. We caught most of that.
Until we get onto the ship off this planet. Sleep well. He's got to remain quiet until we get off this planet. He can't do any more. He can't wake up anymore.
So I turn to Alfred and say, Alfred,
Yep. Yes, Creator.
please remain immobile and silent until I give the command, Alfred, wake up.
Very well, Creator. I will remain immobile and silent. And just stops.
Alfred.
Sitting up, you know.
Please continue to dab for all eternity. No, I say, Alfred, wake up. Stand straight and just say.
So he kind of, yes, Creator. And then what do you ask him to do?
So I ask him to stand up straight.
Okay, so he gets up. Now, when he gets up from the gurney, you hear this sort of disturbing whirling of, sorry, reason I keep looking down is I'm still looking at frames that are buffering. Chad, I know the buffering is a problem still, and I apologize profusely. I may actually switch servers because this is actually, I think, not great either. So I will switch to another server, and then I will tell you what happens with that other thing. So bear with me. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop streaming for just a moment. Don't anyone leave. All right. So. Okay, now let's check settings. We get that, change that server. So Miami wasn't so great. Let's try Ashburn. All right. And okay. All right, we're back, I hope. Okay, I hope we are back. Maybe.
Still not back.
Still not back. No. Yeah, it's not locking down. The lithium crystals will not stabilize. All right, hold on. We'll get it working.
There we are.
Yeah, but I just stopped it now because I want to try to find something more stable. Okay, not Ashburn. Georgia. Let's try Atlanta. Okay, wait for it. Good news is that it's all going to be one consistent VOD, so it's just unfortunate for the folks watching the stream.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in Atlanta, which I hope is going to work better. Okay, now we're up. Try now. Let's see, is that back? Okay, so now, knock on wood, Atlanta. I hope, but again, oh my god, why will this not stabilize? Sorry, everyone. Alright. Okay, should be, it's buffering, I know, but it should be back. I don't know what else to do to cut down on the, Alright, I'm going to take off the Patreon status and try to reduce all possible... I'm going to transfer all power to shields. Okay. Alright. Alright, how's that? We any better? Alright, seems okay. Alright, cool. Thanks, bear with it. Okay. So, sorry, my brain, trying to do 6 things at once.
Yeah, standing up.
Yeah, standing up. So when he stands up, again, you have this sort of strange, like, whirring, and you notice Sleepwell. Actually, make a perception check for me, please.
All right, so
Or Johnny, if you could
yeah,
make a perception check for Sleepwell, which is whatever.
Perception's at
Yep, give me just 1 second there. Perception.
So I'm proficient, and it's +4.
Yep.
Okay, so
That
yeah.
doesn't look-
So it looks like you're looking like at a 7 or an 8, I think.
Yep.
It's you. There's something weird, Sleepwell, when he stands up. I mean, it doesn't, like, he does stand up, but it's not fluid, and it almost looks like more mechanical. Now, again, you have not seen the original Alfred, but it looks as if it's almost like it's not. It's sort of jerking, like kind of like it's not. Whether there's like the parts are not right or something, but something's off about how it stands. Nonetheless, it does, and now sort of stands in place and says, "Now, Creator, I will, as ordered, go quiet." And he just,
Aramis, the show is yours. Where do we put him?
All right. Are you and Petra in your uniforms?
I haven't had a chance to get into it now, but I would get into it right now.
okay.
I will do the same.
Now, one note about that, because these are 2 human-sized guard uniforms, so I need to think about
Yes.
whether this would actually fit a Volna/Ashenforge. I think probably, Petra, the older ones would kind of work for you, although it's going to look like it's going to bulge in the wrong places. Like it's not really. You've had better fitting outfits. I'll just put it that way.
Well, it's guards' uniforms. They don't usually are not terribly tailored.
Right.
So.
So this is one of those things where it looks like, and the helmet kind of sort of fits, but not exactly. But you were able to get yours on, which actually, because you're a little smaller, it actually is able to fit the younger man's uniform, but the helmet is not going to work. The helmet is not designed for your facial structure. So you could wear the uniform, but without the helmet.
Okay.
Which is basically useless. I just do a quick scan around to see if there's anything I could possibly put on my head that could cover it.
Do an investigation check for me. Or Johnny, if you would do an investigation check for him.
You got it. 1 second. How about an 18?
It's a 19.
That's right. So I would say that as you're sort of looking around the shop, you find essentially what looks like 2 parts of a helmet that clearly were not intended to go together, but you can kind of slot them together, sort of. But it's kind of loose, so you can put them on like this, and then if you like tipped forward, like this thing would fall off. So you can kind of like, if you're holding this, you can sort of make it work.
Okay.
It's not going to hold up to close scrutiny, just so you know. If you have to like really pass security check, they'll see through it.
Right. Since I have a mechanical inclination, I'm just going to look for just little parts lying around that I could use basically to jam it together so that it won't instantly fall off. So I
Okay.
can basically free myself.
You find like the equivalent of a twist tie. It's not going to hold on for long, but it seems okay.
So I do this, and then I present myself, and I'm like, how do I look, guys?
Yeah, sure. Totally convincing. Yeah.
It's totally gonna work.
Totally.
I had this image of Kaz being like, looks about the same. I don't. Okay. All right. So now what?
So I kind of turn it back over to Aramis and say like, okay, show's yours.
Just for mechanical question purposes, real quick, how long has it been since we've actually been in here? Since we left the ship and came to here?
It probably has been about an hour or so, because you went sort of slowly, and then you went and had to deal with the shop, then you had to go to the back, then you had to deal with the guards, and they had to strip and all that. So probably about an hour.
All right, or this particular tunnel, because it is going to drop on me. So so physically, Aramis's appearance is going
Oh,
revert
shoot.
back to its original expected. So I'm going to leave and do another change appearance for this alter forms ability, this talent.
I think I got what you were saying. Yeah, this we disconnected, so it's going to have to reconnect. But just to be sure, did you say you're going to alter appearance again? Is that what you said?
I'm gonna have to alter my form again using the change appearance sub component of that ability.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, sounds like a plan. So, all right, so you alter your appearance again. Are you going to alter your appearance, did you say, to look like the same guy? Or I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's probably the right choice.
Okay, that's fine. That sounds like a plan. So, okay. In that case, you are able to disguise yourself. And then what?
And I look to the rest of the group, and I'm like, all right, it's just back to the ship, and then get the hell out of Dodge. So, if we've got nothing else that we need to do, let's do it.
All in
we don't
agreement?
have anything else. Let's go.
It dropped on me. I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay. Just said that, so that means if there's anything else to be done, then do it. Otherwise, you should head back to the ship.
Let's go.
Okay. So you folks all head back to the ship. On your way there, as you're walking along now, I should mention, now you're on the cart. Now he's still standing. Do you want him still, like, up where he is? Because he's not lying back. He's
The
standing on
Alfred?
top of the cart. The Alfred, yeah.
You should make him lie back.
Sleepo, he's going to attract a whole ton. Anybody sees him. It's not even just a matter of
My people!
anybody sees him. I promise that you'll get the explanation that is necessary when all is said and done, but I can't stress this enough. You know me, Sleepo. I'm not joking here. If anybody sees him, we will
I'm
not
having
be
trouble hearing,
able
so right now
to.
I'm just gonna try to
I got it.
restart.
Yeah, I got it. I got what you said, Johnny. So he said, like, I cannot stress enough the importance of making sure that he's quiet, because if people find out about him, it's going to be bad. And he says, you know me, I wouldn't make this up.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement, and so like I'd be like, yeah, help me lie him back in the cart, you know.
Okay. So you start, and you're doing this still, I'm assuming, inside. So I'm going to have both of you make strength checks here. He is very heavy.
Both of us. Okay.
I'm
Hold on.
assuming, I mean, unless you want Sleepwell to do it on his own, which would be a hell of a strength check.
What I was expecting was him to wake him back up to have him lie back.
Okay, so he said to wake him back up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So
if we can do this
I'd be like,
quickly, I'd be like,
yeah, please,
Okay.
wake up.
So he does. He's just like, certainly, creator. Loudly, like the cart shivers, whatever. Okay, so now he's back in the cart.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
So
And we'll make our exit.
So now you head back in, and you sort of like basically ride into the streets. As you go through, maybe it's just sort of a general sort of paranoia, but you feel like everywhere you go to, you see people kind of staring, like looking at the cart, kind of looking at you. A couple times you feel, Sleepo, like they're sort of looking maybe at your helmet. Aramis, they sometimes seem to be looking as if like kind of looking below the platform where you supposedly are. Petra, there's a few times when people sort of like do a double take looking at your outfit because it doesn't seem to fit quite right. Like it seems like the longest, probably only 5-minute walk any of you have ever had as you're getting back here. And as you're sort of like going along and pushing up to the ramp to get back onto the ship, you find yourself, as you're heading back up there, you're sort of pushing up to the ramp, and then you see from one end of the sort of port, you hear sounds of, stop, halt those people, stop those people right now. And you can hear, like, it's from a distance, you can see they're on the other end of the port, but they're like, it's not that big a port, and they're like booking towards you as you are rolling Alfred up the ramp.
The moment that everybody is loaded in, I hit the the close the lock the air, the locking mechanism on the door and book right towards the cockpit.
Okay, let's get back over to the cockpit. Which actually, that's right. I never took you folks off the cockpit. Sorry, I had chat looking at the at stuff, but not the rest of you. Okay, so you all book it all the way forward, where you find, of course, you find. I have my old notes. You find Tezora and crew and Jarva and crew and everybody all waiting there for you. And as you get up there, Jarva kind of looks back and, God, it took you long enough. As you sort of roll in.
Look, talk later. Get us off this planet now.
Okay. And he says, all right. He says, I hope the old men got that tractor beam finished. It's gonna be the shortest trip ever. No, I didn't say that. But he looks back down at the. He looks down and clicks it, and the ship sort of jerks free of the mag locks, and it jerks free, but not entirely. And you can feel the ship is listing as if one of the mag locks is not released. So it's like, and you hear this, warning, ship warning. Please cease illegal exit. Do not attempt to depart the premises. Right? And meanwhile, Jarva's like, this is not good. This is not good. What the hell is that? As he looks back and he sees this cart with just this random thing with a sheet on it. And he's like, what is that?
That is not any of your concern right now. Focus on getting us off this rock.
He's like, I'd love to do that if I could get this last maglock free.
I wander over to I rush over to the communications sort of interface.
So I can't really hear.
Okay.
And I hit up the local channel for traffic control, and I said, you will unlock this right now. Do you know who the hell this is?
And you hear back, you hear non sequitur. We're fully aware who this is. This is someone who has 2 guards knocked out, security protocols in place, blah 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 blah. Like they're just like firing up. They do not seem to be in a state of being interested in listening to you at present.
All right, fine then. Hey, Kaz.
Yeah.
Do you want to go and take care of that last landing gear for us and just kind of shoot it off? We're not landing this thing anyplace else, so I think we're going to be okay.
All right.
And so Kaz is going to go and just destroy that landing gear from the inside and dislodge it.
From the inside? Okay.
From the inside.
All right. So he is going to try to blow up the landing gear from the inside.
He's going to try to disconnect it from the inside.
Okay. All right. So, and just double checking chat. I think, knock on everything, we're more stable now. So, let me know if you guys are still okay and can still see and hear us. I hope. Yep. Good. Okay. Thank you, Rockon. All right. So he's going to run over. So the landing gear, it's listing basically to the right. So it's the right side maglock that has this. So hey, what's up, Try Guy? How you doing? Welcome in, Try Guy. Okay. So he goes zipping back. He runs back to the back of the ship. And there is indeed on the inside of the ship, on the back right about, I'm going to ping it here. Yeah, you can do that. Drop frames. Okay, anyway. Oops, sorry. Wrong place. Right back here. So basically right outside the engine room, right around there, is where you can see it. And so he runs back there. Now, I'm going to need... Now, Kaz to do this is going to need to basically... He has a couple of options. The slower option is to try to carefully remove each component that is holding the landing gear in place. The faster one is to just blow the landing gear the F up, which, now, if you blow the landing gear up, that's a lot faster. You then have no landing gear, at least not on that side. But it's faster, and you can now hear the sound of Jarva sort of over the intercom says, "They're almost here, Kaz."
And Kaz, what he's going to do is he's going to take his time and try to do it delicately.
Okay. So what I will need him to do is to make
Kind of roll the
2 investigation checks for me, please. Actually, no, I take that back. I take that back. If he has mechanics, I'll do that. Does he?
He does not have. He's not proficient in mechanics.
Okay. Then
But he does have a much better. He's a much better bonus in that. So I would prefer that if possible. But I will take a. I'll do whatever you ask.
I'll have you do. Yeah, that's fine. Have him make 2 wisdom checks for me then. Yeah, more stable except for that poor landing gear. Yeah, amen.
How about a 10? And a shit.
So a 10 and a shit. That's pretty much it. He looks at it and he's like the first one he's kind of like, I think I get this, like, and maybe disconnect it. And then when he looks at the other one, he's like, wait, how this like interlocks? How do you get that other one off without what? Like, he's just kind of like, I don't understand. And Jarvis like, pause, and you hear the telltale sound of doo, 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 and something is pinging off the outside of the hull. Sounds very much like laser fire from a distance.
And so Aramis is going to get back on the intercom and Kaz, just blow it up, man. We don't care about landing the ship again. Just blow it up. And
now I'll let you play Kaz, but Kaz basically says something like, you realize this means we have no landing gear.
You know, Aramis, that doesn't sound like a really smart thing to do.
Ding, ding, ding.
Go. We get off this rock, we'll be fine. I promise. We're never landing this ship again.
For the love of the universe, blow the damn thing up, Jarvis says. So does Kaz do that?
All right. Give me a second.
So
and he's gonna blow this shit up.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to make an attack roll. Now you're gonna be doing this at advantage because you're obviously right there, and you're going to blow the landing gear up. Also, firing in the engine room, which would be fine. No, just a ranged attack roll, like his standard range, like his pistol with his sniper, I assume.
All right, that's perfect because I was gonna hit that anyways. Whoa, what? Why did it do that? Hold on a second. Let me try the arm pistol instead.
Negative 13.
How's a 19?
Okay. So, I mean, I like the negative 13. Was just like he just blows off his own face. All right. So with a 19, so there's this big explosion, and Jarvis says, "Ooh, that was you get." That's going to be unfortunate. Okay,
what?
You guys did the work,
happened,
and the ship goes, and he's like, well, I'm just looking at what's left of the sort of particular landing pad we were just at, but, and so the ship lifts off, and you kind of all jerk forward. In fact, Kaz kind of falls back to the wall, and the Alfred kind of rolls back on his cart, dunk, and bonks into it, and the sheet sort of falls off, and Jarva looks back and, good God, what is going on? What did you bring on board this ship?
He has a name. It's Alfred.
And Alfred's like, Creator, would you like me to eliminate the... And Jarva's like, what? What?
Jarva, right now, seriously, my friend, you're just going to have to roll with what's going on here. Please it's okay.
He's like, all right, and and he like sort of forces the ship, pushes the ship forward, and indeed the ship, which has been at least partially repaired, takes off. Now, as you're first leaving, Jarvis sort of smiles and he looks back at, and I don't have my notes. Does anyone remember the name of the bartender? I don't remember her name. I'm going to have to go back and find it later on. Sorry. But anyway, her and Tezora, and kind of grins and sort of says, that's what I'm talking about. The problem with one of these space bases is they don't have any kind of a real defense force around them. We shouldn't have any problem. And then all of a sudden you hear this, whoop, 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 whoop. And he's like, and Tezora kind of looks down at him and says, what is that? What's that, Jarva? He's like, Well, it's been a while since I've heard that one before. Whoop, whoop. And so you can see that a bunch of the screens in the bridge are flashing red. Whoop. And he sort of looks, Jarva looks at the screens and says, oh boy. Okay, so this could be a problem. And so he sort of punches some commands in, and the camera on the front sort of zooms in. And you can see that he says, this camera is the rear camera. It's focused back towards the base. And you can see that one of the orbital platforms, one of the orbital things focusing around, is now focused on you. And the orbital platform, you may remember, was shaped awfully like a large gun. And you can start to see, even on this distance, what looks like some glowing red around the barrel of the gun. He's like, I think it's getting ready to fire.
Really? I thought you were a hotshot pilot. Can you not? Isn't this your ship? Can't you just get us out of here?
He's like, I can get out of here, but we're not fully out of range of the gravitational pull of this thing. If I try to throw this thing forward, and then you hear 30 seconds to ignition. He's like, we have 30 seconds before we have ignition and we get the hell out of here. And the gun's
so I turned to Petra. I'm like, Petra, can't you got us through something last time. You got us a power boost, some sort of speed boost. Can you do anything?
I will punch frantically at the keyboard and try to summon my machine intelligence.
Okay, so you're going to punch frantically at the
Do any of this. I'm just like, ah!
I think what I was talking about, there was what was it? There was a ignition maneuver that she did. It was either jury rig or power boost last time.
Combat.
Right. Right.
Right.
We're improvising this slightly, but in this particular case, and yes, it is basically Megatron. Yeah. Except it's like Megatron, like giant size. If Megatron was 20 Megatrons. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can find the technician role within that, and that would actually work. So yes. Okay, so you're basically looking at a power boost. Is that the idea? The technician maneuver of a power boost?
Yes.
This is a mechanics check. Now, technically, you're not inside ship combat here. So here's the way that we're going to do this. I will say that I will give you the chance to do this power boost. If the check fails, though, I'm going to say that you're going to have routed the engines in the wrong direction, meaning that the ship will be less maneuverable for a short period of time. Now, if you wish to compensate for this, you could always do this check at advantage, and I would remind chat that inspiration is a thing which exists for the ability to inspire a certain happy-go-lucky space crew from not being pulverized by an orbital laser. Turn around, arm yourself right at it, maybe it will flinch and you can get away. Yeah, so you should just like go directly for the gun. That's
Crazy Ivan! Crazy Ivan!
Crazy Ivan.
Well, so are you ready? Because if so, I'm going to roll.
Can I assist though, since it's a
No inspiration.
You can. All right. Well, let's see if we're going to inspiration. Yeah.
Oh.
So, well, hold on a second, because he's suggesting the possibility of maybe inspiring. Let's take a look and see who's got inspiration available. It's. Oh, how about I actually spell it right? That'd be a good idea. There we go. So here are the people who have inspiration. If you recognize your names in chat, Dragon Spear's got one. Kilobyte's got a couple, although Kilobyte's not here at the moment. I think Aridinel used his to save the other party, so they could take it up with them. Whoever's aiming that gun might think it's crazy and stop it. It's quite possible.
All right. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and roll.
Okay, now as far as assisting it, you are probably not going to get the chance to do this because it's too fast, I would say. So yeah, I'm going to say this is your show, Petra. Just a normal roll. Here we go. The 19.
How is a 19?
Wow, the 19. How to get inspiration. So Super Fun Time Force Go, who I think I may know, because I think I may have heard about this. But the way to do inspiration is to support either the Patreon, which you can do by checking out !ARFTREON, or you can, and you do that at the $10 level, or you can sub to the channel at tier 2, which is $9.99. Either one of those will give you an inspiration, and you can use one inspiration per month, basically. If you support at the $20 level, you get 2, and you can use them on any campaign that you like during the course of the month, and it resets every month that you pay. That's how you do it. However, in this particular case, you got the 19. So, so you managed to basically hit this, and this, like, right? And the ship kind of kicks forward, sort of like the equivalent of what hyperspace would be. As it does this, there's this, and you can see on the camera, this odd thing of the light sort of kind of going dark, and then just this, like, the light basically overloads the camera lens. So it's the biggest J.J. Abrams lens flare of all time. Just shoots directly, this bolt just shoots directly towards the ship. And as the Tangirl is going, the bolt is basically pursuing it. So you sort of have this image of watching as this bolt gets closer and closer. And Jarva is just kind of like feverishly like staring, like trying to punch things in, move things around. And he's like, this is ridiculous. This thing is, I didn't know they had something this powerful. This thing is literally following us through time space. This should not be able to happen. The thing's like gradually getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And so it's not caught you yet, but you probably have.
Can you do a course correction, Jarva?
He says, I could, but if I do course correction going at this speed, we're going to tear this thing apart. Partially because we don't seem to have anything back where our landing gear used to be. He kind of looks around.
Can we shoot it?
He says, we could try to get a shot off, but there's a risk that if we do the shot the wrong way, it might damage the engines. We've got everything maxed into it right now. But yeah, we could try that. Maybe.
Well,
and Tazora says, well, you got to do something.
That seems like an option. Yeah.
All
Here's
right.
our best shot. Go, go, go.
It's going to be Kaz.
Okay. So if Kaz wants, he can kind of sit down at this, and he can do a gunnery check if he wishes to make this happen. Now, again, we're in a similar situation. You're going to basically try to get a shot off to disperse this thing. When you do that, you will be... Sorry, as I find my ship combat sequence. There we go. So when you do that, you can do a gunnery maneuver. And if you want to do this is probably going to have to be like a focused aim one, as opposed to just a standard gunnery one, because you're literally trying to hit a beam. Which means that you're going to get a chance to actually try to hit this thing. I'll allow you to do it. Same thing as I told Petra, though. In this case, if it does not work, if you don't get this shot sort of fired, then what you'll end up doing is slightly throwing the ship off. Now, whether the ship means that that's going to go flying way off into space, or whether it's going to shatter the armor, or whether, to shatter the hull, you don't know entirely, but it's going to throw the thing off if this shot doesn't work.
So let me just be clear about this, because focused aim and attack are two different actions.
Right.
In spaceship combat.
This is focused aim that you're doing.
So you're going to allow me to do a focused aim and then make an attack?
Yeah, yes, you're using the focused aim as an attack, basically.
Okay, all right.
We're modifying this, essentially. There are no rules for being pursued by laser beam in time-space combat, so I'm working around the edges.
That's coming in the supplement.
Yes, exactly. That's there you go. So Alligator Alley, you guys know the drill.
That's right.
This is for you. So yeah, so you could do a focused aim there, Johnny. Oh, did I lose Johnny?
Okay, so this is going to be an intelligence. Say that again. What kind of attack? What kind of a role is this going to be specifically?
So it's going to be a focused aim, which is going to be. So it's going to be using the attack maneuver. So it's going to be basically a ranged weapon attack. And so you're going to be doing a ranged weapon attack.
Okay, we'll do that right now. Give me just 1 second, and here we go. How about an 11?
Okay. So with an 11, the bolt actually fires. The good news is that it does not throw the ship off. The bad news is that you miss the beam. So, right, just seems to miss it. And so the beam draws closer, and Jarvis says, God damn it. And Tezora says, Petra, can you do something, please? Something? Anything? Sorry, Petra. Sorry, Kat, you broke up.
I'm turning around and, me swearing. Me do something, and I'm going to turn on the intercom and say, "Stop, laser beam! Stop!" and then turn it off.
Okay, so "stop laser beam" echoes through the ship, having been spoken on the intercom by Petra. And Tezora looks at you and is just kind of like, I don't know what to say. That's not really what I meant. And she says, Petra, you have the ability to do more than this, you know. And she kind of like gives you this sort of like, raising an eyebrow, like, you know, the thing?
Like I have tried to meld with the ship. What do you think that maneuver was all about?
And she says, right, that shows that you can do it.
Oh, okay. And I'm just slapping my hand on the bulkhead and trying to project my mind into the ship.
Okay. I am going to, let's see.
I'm harnessing the wisdom of the cosmos.
I'm actually going to have you make, it's funny you mentioned wisdom, I'm going to have you make a wisdom check. We're going to see how much the wisdom of the cosmos has gotten into you.
Okay. Let me find the Roll20 window again.
That would be helpful.
Luckily, wisdom is one of my higher scores on my deck. So, how is a 16?
Yeah, what color is the laser? Turn the same color light at the laser? That's a good thought. I don't know what. So when you do this, you have this sort of strange experience where it almost feels as if everyone else on the bridge seems to dim for a moment, like almost literally like you were watching one of those old vid screens and everything got dimmer on the screen, and the ship gets much brighter around you. And you hear this sort of strange, distant voice that says something like, Petra. You hear.
I can't tell if I can't hear you because if it's garbled or whether you're hesitating to let me speak.
Yeah, I was hesitating. You just heard the words Petra is what you heard.
I'm going to say, we need to get out of here.
And there's a moment of, I understand. Are you returning, Petra? Now, and before you answer that, I'm sorry, Kat. Okay. Before you answer that, everyone else around, Sleepwell, Kaz, Aramis, Jarva, Tezora, etc., the bartender's name I can't remember, all of them are all standing sort of looking, and what you see is Petra's just kind of gazing up sort of nowhere into space, like not literally space, but like just kind of looking into the air. So you don't hear any of this. So this is just you, Petra, who's hearing this sort of, although you don't know that, but right now that's what you're hearing. So the question was, are you returning? It said.
I'm finding out what it means to return.
And you hear, we can be patient. We will do what we can. And there's sort of a moment's pause. And then there is this, and the ship starts to shake. And Jarva's like, the hell's going on? And Tezora sort of has this satisfied smile, and she says, Petra's learning something about herself, I think. And as the ship is shaking, you notice that the images of everyone around you, Petra, is starting to blur sort of more and more and more and more. And then there is a moment of this blinding flash of light. And all of you have this moment where the ship itself, it almost as if all of time seems to freeze. And you feel as if you are just in silence, almost floating, alone and afraid and separated from everyone else around you for just a moment, as if you were all alone in the universe. And then, as if like all of the sort of light and sound has been restored. And when you all sort of come to, including you now, Petra, all of you are sort of looking around, and Jarva's looking up at the camera, which is now free. There's no sign. Not only is there no beam pursuing you, but you actually don't see anything. You just see blackness. And Jarva's like, what was that? And he's kind of looking around. He's sweating, and all of you are just kind of like, And Petra, you have a splitting headache, I think is a good way to describe it. But you are also now back on the bridge with everybody else. And after a second, the stars return again on the camera. And Jarva sort of looks at he looks down at the map and looks and sort of puts some things up, and he kind of looks up wordlessly at all of you, and he says, What did you have her do? Tazora, don't lie to me. What did you have Petra do? And Tazora says, I didn't do anything. I just reminded her something about who she was. And he says, No. You don't understand. And he kind of points up to the map, and I've now brought the players, I think, over to the map. So yeah, you can come around and see it, Carlos. So your ship was before over here, right? You now find yourself here, heading roughly towards, you think, Peltiveria. However, you did not go through the rift to get there. So as Jarva says, it's like, what? We just transported halfway across the Silrain Arc, and we didn't take a rift to get there. Now, what in Frel's name happened? What did you do to my ship? He looks
Jarva, hold
pissed
on.
off.
Jarva, hold
What?
on. No idea what's going on here either. So you know what? Your anger, it's not helping, buddy. We've got a lot of things to figure out here, especially since our ship isn't even here. It's back at Palceros.
And he says, well, and he kind of looks again, and he says, well, the map doesn't, and he kind of stares at the map again, and he's like, but that's not, and now, when you look at the map again, you don't have to run back around, I'll just tell you. When you look at the map again, you see your ship is now located about there, somewhere towards what looks like heading towards the actual center of the Silrain Arc, towards Tessara. And he barely has time to be like, what? Before you see the ship moves again, and now it's outside Kolkothar. So basically, the way he describes it is the ship is just hopping, at least on the map anyway, from spot to spot. And he's like, it's like none of the navigation makes sense. And he stares up at you, Petra, and he says, you did something, and you need to tell me what it was.
I told the ship that we needed to be elsewhere. And I know as much as you do, dude. I am basing this all on that woman, and you know how reliable she is. And I'm going to point at Dora.
And he looks back at her, and Tazora sort of, who looks a little troubled now, is kind of like, I don't know. I told you, I know something of Petra's past, and he says, don't bullshit me anymore, Tazora. You knew something about this. This is all some kind of setup, some kind of game. And she says, don't be ridiculous, Jarva. What kind of a game involves me nearly being dead several times and then getting you off the planet just so I could kill you out in space? Use your head. And he kind of settles down slightly at that, and he's like, still doesn't make any sense. He's like, so you just told the ship. What do you mean you told the ship? What did you talk to? The computer? Did you input it somewhere?
I
mentally reached out and used telepathy to talk to the ship, or what I think was the ship.
And he just kind of, yeah, go ahead, Hermes.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's fine. We're all with these frame drops and internet issues. It's all good. So he just kind of is like, he sort of stares at you, and for just a moment is kind of like just shakes his head and like looks over again and kind of like shrugs, frustrated, and then he says, "All right, so you interfaced somehow with the computer and told it to do whatever it's doing, and now you look up and you can see that the ship is now over, like, above Seoul, basically, at least on the map." Now, I should say, by the way, that inside the ship, you don't notice any difference. Like, you don't feel any different. You're not being, like, whipped around. You're just on the ship. But on the map, it's, like, flying all over the place. And he's like, well, whatever you did, it definitely took you somewhere else. And the somewhere else is apparently nowhere. We're not in any normal space. That's why it's doing this. And now the ship is over at Vol, and now the ship is, like, so...
Wow.
How fast is this happening?
Well,
Like, are we blinking in and out, or is it like 10 seconds?
It's more like probably maybe 15 to 20 seconds at a time. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to be speeding up and going any faster, but it's like...
So as soon as we stop at Vol, I say, Petra, get us out of here!
He's like, yeah, and so like within 15 seconds, it's jumped out again. And Tezora says, well, I mean, eventually it'll just stop, right? Like, it'll just stop doing things? And he says, sure, when it runs out of fuel, and that'll be a long time from now. And that's assuming the hull holds up to whatever's going on with it. I don't know what kind of stresses this puts the ship in.
Let's just assume that nothing that we understand about ships and physics and fuel and consumption and all of that is going to matter for the moment. Petra, can you get the ship to pay attention and pick one place?
I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to suggest Pelsaros, where the other ship is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, I'm going to put my hand on the bulkhead again, close my eyes, rub my brow briefly because my head is killing me.
Mm-hmm.
Mutter something under my breath, and then try to think about the ship stopping at Pelsaros.
And again, you have this experience of the ship, sort of your companions dimming around you a little bit, and the ship itself becoming brighter again. And you hear again, that same sort of disembodied voice that says, understood, but there is danger that awaits you at Pelsaros. Are you sure you wish to face it?
Yes.
And so there's sort of silence, and then let it be. And the ship starts to again shudder. And then there's that same experience of the kind of, everyone floating separately, like all, and then, and again, you are back out. And now there are what looks like familiar space patterns, or star patterns, I should say, as you look up. And Jarva makes a sort of satisfied, thank the maker.
And I'm going to say, hey, heads up that there's danger waiting for us at Pelsaros.
I would be happy to have you do that, but when you actually try to speak, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, Petra, because it feels like someone drove an ice spike through your head.
All right. Constitution.
Yeah, confirmation pop-ups. Yeah, the ship is like, are you sure you wish to update now? No, goddamn it.
Where's Clippy when you need him?
Exactly, Clippy. 20, all right. So nice. Yeah, so you kind of like, your head, you just like, but then you're like, recover enough that you can then say whatever it is you wanted to say. So sorry, Petra, you could say it
I
again.
say heads up that there's some danger waiting for us there. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. Sorry,
I'm
frames.
good. Okay. I say heads up that there is some danger waiting for us there. I don't know what it is, but it's big enough that I got warned of it. And now I need to go lie down for a while.
And you kind of stumble a little bit, Petra. Like you're like in bad shape. Tazora catches your arm and kind of says, all right. You've done enough. You did what you need to do. I'll bring you back to your quarters. And that leaves the rest of you on the bridge, as you can now see the normal sort of star pattern and the ship progressing towards Pelseros. Jarva lets you know that it's probably going to be a few hours until you arrive at Pelseros. And he says, before we get there, I think there's a few things we're going to need to talk about. Both what happens when we arrive and what just happened with your friend. And of course, he's saying this to Aramis, Kaz, and Sleepwell. And of course, Tezora's not there either, but he and his beloved, whose name again I do not remember, are there. So,
Jarva, hold on just a second.
Yeah.
Look, I respect your desire to want to have that conversation completely, but I think there's a more pressing issue. That danger, whatever it is that Petra's speaking of, I don't know how she knows, but I trust her. Is there any way that you can get a pre-assessment of us getting into Pelseros? Is there a contact you can check out? Is there a dead drop that you can maybe check to see if there's any particular, like, any heat or sort of any word on the street kind of a thing? Any assessment that we have is going to inform the conversation that you're talking about. And I think that's important.
And he sort of, and then he kind of nods and he says, well, and he kind of thinks, he says, the problem is I don't know what kind of danger she means. I mean, Pelseros is, you've been there. That's a armpit of the galaxy. At least that's what Spindra used to call it. Maybe Spindra's waiting to ambush us. Maybe security wants to know why exactly I haven't paid my dock duty fees. I'm sure that's fine. I'm only about 6 months overdue, but it should be not a problem.
Anything that's out of the ordinary, even in a circumstance where everything is out of the ordinary,
he
for
says,
polite society would make sense.
He says, not that I know of, but, and he sort of pauses, he says, but if it's true that the Shadow Technocracy is after you, I find it hard to believe they could have gotten word back to anyone around here yet. They're not that big, or at least I didn't think they were. But I can't rule it out. It's possible that someone's waiting, and that the people waiting for us are the Shadow Technocracy. I don't know. Or it could just be a general danger. Pelseros is generally dangerous.
I think we can handle general danger. If there's anything you can do, even just start the process, then we can have the conversation.
But what do you want me to do? Tell them I'm coming back?
You're telling me that you don't have a contact that you can actually give send a message to that will be able to give you an assessment of the situation on the ground.
He says,
on the ground style.
He says, I did, but all of my contacts are contacts that Spindra knew too. And who knows now how many of them have been compromised. I don't even know if Spindra was working for the Shadow Technocracy. If we get back in contact with any of those people that Spindra and I both knew, I can't promise that they're going to be clear. The only possible contacts that are not likely to be Technocracy people are the people who actually run Pelseros, assuming the Technocracy hasn't gotten to them. And they don't have any love for me. Basically, it's whether you want to face down organized crime, or whether you want to face down the Shadow Technocracy.
Aren't those basically the same thing?
I wish. The Shadow Technocracy has got higher ambitions these days.
And Aramis is going to look over to Sleepwell. He's like, I don't know, kid. He doesn't seem to appreciate any of my ideas. You've been pretty good lately. Do you have anything that you want to say?
Oh, so he basically, did you hear that?
Yeah, I
okay.
just got the end of it.
Okay.
I kind of look at the group and kind of look at Alfred, and I'm like, I'm gonna go hang out with Alfred for a while, and I just take the cart and like push it out, and I am literally gonna go hang out with Alfred.
Okay. So
kids.
So Kaz is like in there just looking at you, Aramis. Aramis, you're looking back at Kaz. And Jarva's like, so, which call do I make? The bad guys or the worst guys?
Forget it. Let's just take it in and let's go to Spindra's docking port. That's the best place to start.
And he says, all right, sounds like a plan then. Also, thank you, Game. Thank you, Tilted Gaming. What's up, man? Thank you for the cheer. I appreciate it too. So, okay, we're gonna jump then one by one. I'm gonna go first of all to Petra, who left first. Then we'll deal with Sleepwell and Alfred, and lastly we'll come back to Aramis and Kaz. So I'll start with Petra. Petra, your head is, pounding, although unlike other headaches that you've had, this headache passes much more quickly. And so it feels almost like the equivalent of getting hit on the head by, a weapon and like having your head ring, through a helmet almost. It almost feels a little bit like that. So you're, as you're sort of try to, kind of holding your head, the pain seems to be passing. And you're now back in your own quarters. And Tezora is kind of sitting by your cot, just sort of looking down at you with an expression of apparent concern. How are you doing?
And I'm going to say, so, Tezora, there's a lot that seems to be going on here that I don't understand at all.
She says...
And I'd like to understand it.
She says, I don't blame you. Well, and she kind of sort of thinks about it and is like, where do I begin? She says, I told you that I knew the person responsible at your creation, right?
Mm-hmm. Your brother.
Yes, my brother. And I told you that he was a genius, or at least more of a genius than me, that's for sure. He kind of always knew what it was that he was doing, always knew what he said. When he made you, and when he sort of tied you into this thing, this setup, this AI, he said that he felt you would be, well, he referred to you as the vanguard, the first of a kind, the prototype. And he said he had to make the prototype big, bold. He always talked like that. He always said crazy, silly things that always seemed like just being a blowhard, but he said that whatever you were, it was going to have ramifications for everyone. The whole Silrain arc, maybe. What I'm saying is...
So, this AI... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So where is this AI? What is this AI? Was that what I was reaching mentally?
Yes. You're kind of tied in or connected somehow to some network. I don't know the details. He wouldn't tell me where they were or how he got this network or where it's connected to. But he basically created you with a machine intelligence, or a hybrid intelligence anyway. And the machine intelligence is networked with a lot of other such intelligences in the galaxy. You are part of a neural net, basically. And so, wherever that net has reached, whether it's ships, or security systems, or other creatures that are run by AIs, robots, drones, you will be connected to them in some way. You're almost a part of them, Petra, you might say. You always said you used to hit things with a big hammer. Well, you're bigger than anything you've ever hit. I'll say that.
I'm gonna say, I don't like this at all. I don't understand it. I don't like it. You're making me question whether I'm actually a person rather than just a machine, Tesora, and that's a bitter pill to swallow.
And she says, no, 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 no. And she puts kind of her hand on your arm. She says, no, I said hybrid. That was the part that I was never clear about, see? He said that you were networked, but he also, the way you make it Ashenforged is there has to be some other component of living thing. When you were created, you were your own person, not just a computer. You were tied into the network. The network wasn't supposed to control you. It was, you're a part of it, but also separate from it. I don't know. He's the genius. All I know is that he made it very clear that you weren't just a computer or a robot. You were connected to them, but you weren't one yourself.
Are his notes anywhere? Is there any record of the project? How
No.
can I find out more?
And she says, well, he only kept notes in two places. One was his brain. She kind of taps her head and rolls her eyes. And then the other was, well, he had this disk drive, this sort of storage drive of some kind that he kept. It was kind of an old model too. We used to joke about it, say that this would be something that would last a long time after all the virtual stuff went. But he never told me exactly where he kept it, except he did say one thing, which was, at some point, he said I would be having this conversation with you. And when I had that conversation, that I was gonna need to, he said, figure it out with you. Like, send you down the right path, he said. I don't know whether I've done that, but I'm just fulfilling his wishes. I guess you're supposed to maybe find him, or at least that storage drive, and that may have more information about who you are and how this all connects.
All right.
I mean, he's
I am
dead,
not-
but I don't know that he's dead for sure. It was never fully identified. And she kind of looks.
How can you not know if your own brother is dead or not, Tesora?
There was an explosion. He was working in this lab. He was working on, I told you, one of the Sorium centers, one of the places where the Esper Genesis was first discovered. And one of those centers blew up, basically. Well, my brother was supposed to be working on it. He said he was working on it, but they never found a body. They didn't find much of anything after it exploded. So I'm pretty sure he's dead. I've never heard from him. There's never been any sign. All the authorities declared he was dead, but I never knew for absolutely sure. Anyway, the only thing I got from him was a message about a week after his death. He said it was part of what he called was a dead man's switch. It's designed to go off the minute that he basically, a certain period of time after he dies, this message would be sent automatically to the people closest to him. The message was sent out, and in the message, he told me some of what I'm telling you about, I'd already been there at your creation, but he told me that I was going to need to watch after you. He told me I'd need to have this conversation with you sometime, and he told me that things weren't over, but I didn't know what that meant. That was it. And then he said goodbye. I thought that was his way of saying goodbye beyond the grave, if you will, after death. I haven't heard from him since.
Not happy with you. Not happy with you in so many ways. So many ways.
She says, well, that's kind of standard for us, right?
It is, but this is okay. So like, here's normal level of not happy with Tesora, right? Normal level, Petra not happy with Tesora, and then there's this level, and this is the current level of Petra upset with Tesora.
And she
And
kind
so
of,
I'd like you to go away and let me think.
and she sort of
And I'm
says,
gonna cut her off.
all right, just be careful, just get some rest, and, we'll talk about it later. And she kind of gets up and walks towards the door and turns around and says, looks like she's about to say something, and then kind of shakes her head and turns and walks out of the room. Do you do anything, Petra, other than just think?
I'm going to think, and what I'm doing is, this is going to sound a little odd, but I'm sort of exploring my mind just to make sure that it feels like my mind still.
That's a good way to look at it. I'll tell you about more of that extensively in a bit, but I'll just say in short term that it seems like it's all your head. The only thing is that as you sort of, how do I describe this? As you think to a little bit of like what happened, whenever you think about the memory of the experience, there's a little throb of pain, almost as if you touched a bruise on your leg.
Interesting.
And with that, I'm going to pause us for you, and I'm going to move us over to Sleep Well. And let me just double check. Johnny, you had a hard out of 11:30? Is that right?
I did, sir.
Okay, good. Just wanted to double check. All right, so we're going to jump over to Sleep Well. Sleep Well, you are in now your quarters with Alfred.
There is no medical bay or anything, right?
There is a well, it's not. I mean, sort of. It's more a first aid area. This doesn't seem to have a whole lot in the way of. Certainly not the facilities that the Hyperlance has.
Right, but at least a place where you could put a gurney. You know. So
Yep.
That's where I would go.
Okay, so let's move you back over to the ship to do that. All right. What are you going to? So it's lying there, just sort of still.
Right, and so I say, wake up, Alfred.
And sort of. Yep. Yes, Creator. Hold on, Creator. The spirit of the universe put you on the wrong map. There we go, Creator. Okay. Here's what we're looking for. Okay. So, good. Basically, the place in the gurney where you are is now the place where you tried to rig the engine room that was outside of it. There was like an auxiliary room, if you remember.
Right.
So that's basically where you are at this point. And in fact, I'm going to move you down there. I know you can't see this on your computer because internet is a thing, but I will adjust accordingly. Okay. Okay. So you are now in there with Alfred, and it sets up and sort of, yes, Creator.
Are you able to perform any kind of self-diagnostic to test your systems?
Self-diagnostic, diagnostic, and there's sort of a pause, and then consider, and then you sort of see the kind of head move around a bit, and then warning cycle 362, 365, 5, recording follows. And then it sort of tilts its head, and then a completely different voice emanates from it. And the voice is, finally, I think I've got what this thing is all about. 5 more things, and it's definitely the voice of the Shadow Technocracy Lieutenant. All I need is to get 3 more things, and I'll make this connection complete. And then you hear Alfred's voice, or this Alfred's voice, saying, would the Creator like to shut up? You'll speak when I talk to you. And then you hear this banging sound, as if something is being hammered. Sounds like metal being hammered. And then recording 352, 346 follows. And then, all right, now if we can move this way. These things are not compatible. Stupid machine. All of it's mechanical, it all ought to work. And then you hear, Creator, would the Creator wish for me to connect my circuits to... No, your circuits aren't compatible. Shut up. Shut up. And you hear this dong, 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 like hammering sound. And then there's a... And then looks back at you. Diagnostics complete. Systems nominal. Circumstances abnormal. Non sequitur. Incapable of processing.
Stand up, Alfred.
So Alfred stands up, from the gurney. Again, that weird word.
I'm going to perform a physical on you. Can you experience pain?
And it says, would the Creator define pain?
Do you feel any discomfort that limits your movements or otherwise inhibits your function?
On occasion, Creator, certain movements are difficult for internal system processes and lead to extreme discomfort, creating shutdown. Is that sufficient?
That's pain, buddy. Show me where it hurts.
And so the arm kind of swings down, and you have this odd experience of this thing like this, like swinging down like this, like, you know, and then this arm creator, part of the other, creates pain, and then the other arm. This arm also creates pain collectively, and then kind of clanks them together. Pain through arms, discomfort, sometimes shut down, since creation.
Thank you. Take a T-pose position. I'm going to give you an examination.
So it does the
Right.
like.
So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as best as I can do externally, really start exploring his body and seeing how
Okay.
things are connected and seeing if I can be of service.
Okay. So as you start to notice things, there's some. Okay, actually, I want you to make a medicine check for me, please. So this is going to be a weird check. I'm going to actually do two. I'm going to ask you to do a medicine check, but I'm also going to ask you to do a mechanics check. That tandem will have things. So Johnny, can you do that?
So those are, I'm proficient and +4 at those.
Okay, so mechanics is proficient and medicine's +4, or the other way
No,
around?
They're both +4 and they're both proficient.
Okay, so there you go. So it's the same check basically, Johnny. Medicine and mechanics both times, both +4.
All right, there you go. 10 and a 7.
Okay, 10 and a 7. So as you're sort of working with it, you're having a hard time kind of figuring out, because this is weird. This basically feels like, the one thing you can know for sure.
I'm sorry, I just didn't see the number. So it was
Oh yeah,
10
sorry, it
plus
was a
6?
10 and it was a 7.
Right, roll the 10 or
Okay, you rolled a 10 mechanics,
so
which
it's
was
16.
no, because it was +4. You said, right? +6. That was counting this to +6.
Oh yeah.
I believe, right, Johnny? That was it. Sorry,
I muted myself. I in both cases it was with the +6.
Just with the +6.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, so the one thing you can say for sure, whoever put this together did not know what they were doing. Like, this is just not how you do this. It sort of works, but it's the worst kind of jury-rigged, sloppy, like, you know, like some of the neural net pathways and things like that are not quite like synced up properly, almost as if they were either rushed. You can see moments where the neural nets, normally a neural net pathway when you do AI work, is tied such that it's sort of twisted together lengthwise, right? So that you're almost like the neurons in a brain, so that you'd have things sort of gently kind of coming together. These look tied off in knots, as if there were times where he's like, oh, like whatever he's doing is really angry. So this is like a botch job. And then the mechanical part of it, there's weld marks and everything, but it's like, these are not good weld marks. This looks like a rush job from someone, an amateur, who knew just enough to get himself in trouble, basically, like just enough to kind of put it together. And it's very obvious that it sort of works, but it's not, I mean, it's functional, but how internally it's affecting him is unclear.
Alright. So, I say to Alfred, Alfred, what would you like to do?
And he says, I do not understand the question, Creator. I would like to do your bidding. Do you wish me to destroy the wall around us?
No, thank you. If my wish were for you to be comfortable, how would I make you comfortable?
And there's sort of a long pause, and then comfortable, to remove, to end. Comfort would come from end, he says.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. why don't you go ahead and lie back down and have a little rest?
And it says, "Very well, Creator." Whoopoosh! Just sort of lands down.
I'm gonna take out my medical kit at this point and really try to do like a thorough, like physical examination.
Okay.
And especially looking for things that look like misjointed that they could cause pain in this kind of cybernetic body.
Okay. I think that we can go with the previous check that you had from that. There are things that you look like could be sort of sanded down, adjusted, fixed, altered, but part of what clearly was being done here was an attempt to unite a somewhat organic being in the Kanasi, somewhat, I mean it's got a mechanical component too, with the mechanical components of the Alfred. And mixing those together have created this thing that you see. It's almost limited and restricted by its combinations, and theoretically if you combined the power of the Kanasi with the power of an Alfred, I mean, you've heard stories about the Alfred from your friends and you know what a Kanasi can do, you've seen it yourself, but in practice the sort of combining of them has made this difficulty. So you can kind of sand some joints here and adjust some issues there, but you're basically trying to combine two apparently incompatible things, unless what was trying to be done was to make them compatible. But that does not seem to have been accomplished here.
Right.
Either at all or as of yet.
So, I guess the last thing I would try to explore to see if they can be disambiguated from each other, and if, for instance, the Alfred could survive without its Kanasi parts.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
It seems unlikely. There's too much of the Kanasi now and not enough of the Alfred, and there's not nearly enough of the Kanasi for it to survive on its own.
Right.
Unlikely. Now, if you could find other Alfred parts, maybe you could reconstruct it, possibly. Or if you could find another Kanasi that was willing to sit still for you long enough to, reconstruct it like a Lego, but...
Right. I think for right now, I'm going to see if I can give it some kind of pain medicine, and
Okay.
see if that will affect this bone.
Okay. You begin to oil the joints, and as you do that, I'm going to jump up to the bridge. We're going to bring you over to Aramis and to Kaz, who are in the bridge. Now, have you been doing anything, Aramis, as you've been flying along with Jarva, sort of in preparation for your landing at Peltiveria? Oh, sorry, Pelseros.
Having the conversation that he wanted to have to figure out what we're going to do next.
Okay.
And I think Oz and I are really just kind of scratching our heads about what the right thing to do is since we can't figure out how to assess this danger that Petra gave us a message about.
I mean, look, it can't possibly be more dangerous than where we just were. We just escaped an orbital laser. We just escaped you destroying one of the lieutenants of the Shadow Technocracy. It could be worse. And so this may just be a generalized danger. You don't even know, she doesn't even know exactly what's going on. None of you did. It's possible this could be a normal danger. Like I said, Pelseros is a bad place. Yeah.
No, I get that. I get that it's a bad place. I understand what we're walking into. I understand the level of looking the other direction and to accomplish some of the things that all of us seem to do on a day-to-day basis in our jobs, what we call jobs. I mean, come on, isn't this fun? But let me be clear about this. What that kid, and I point back just in the general direction, what that kid has that he's playing with back there, he thinks it's a big freaking toy. He thinks it's something new and neat. That is one of the most dangerous things in the galaxy, in the Silurian Arc right now.
He's like, all right, if we're going to talk danger, then you need to tell me exactly why. What the hell is that thing?
Look, let me be very clear about this. If you know more, people are going to come for you. If I even tell you exactly what that thing is, and you happen to mention it in casual conversation with somebody that you absolutely trust, I guarantee you that person will probably sell you out in order to make sure that they get some of the profit that thing could potentially generate. However, that thing is more dangerous than any of us and all of Pelseros could be combined.
All right.
Technocracy probably wants that thing, and
all right. Well,
there's a little lieutenant friend that didn't tell.
and he kind of nods. He says, all right, fine, you made your point, but it doesn't explain, how is it that you even know about this thing? You've never been to that base before, you told me.
No, we haven't, but we have seen, this is not the only, for lack of a better word, physical construct that has this potential.
You mean there's another one of those running around somewhere?
There's more than one.
And he kind of rolls his eyes and he's like, this is tremendous. This is tremendous, he says to the woman next to him. This is great. I leave and things get worse. Why didn't I just die back on the ship? It would have been easier. And she kind of shrugs and she says, you know the deal, Jarva. This was never going to be easy. Easy is one thing. Worse and worse is different. He says, all right, fine. Look, at the very least, Pel Saros has no particular love for the Shadow Technocracy. They don't love anything, really, except money. We still have to deal with Spindra, if she even returned here. And we've got to get your ship fixed. Is your ship, this ship of yours that you were trying to get repaired, is it a better ship, a faster ship than the Tangrel? Can we get rid of this thing, put this thing that you've got, that toy that you say he's playing with, send it off into deep space somewhere, blow it up, something?
We had a long conversation about doing that at one point. We were afraid because, and I'll be very clear about this part of it, these things are somehow networked together. If we abandon one of them, eventually it will end up in the hands of somebody else who has figured out how that they have these things, and that they're gonna come for it. Doesn't matter how deep into space that we launch this thing, unless it takes it, unless it takes it out of this galaxy and takes it 3 galaxies away. We're not doing anybody any disservice by just sort of leaving it hanging in quote unquote deep space.
Oh, that's great. They're networked together. That's tremendous. That's even better. And also, they're all filled with little bugs that will all kill us. Is that what you're saying? They're all networked together? And then he stops and he says, wait a minute. And he kind of swivels around in his chair and looks at you and says, Petra said that she was talking to this thing. Is she part of this network? Is she part of the problem that's going to bring this thing down on our heads? What if she's one in contact with this Alfred? How well do you even know her?
Look, I don't have any idea. As I said before, we don't have any clue what Petra just did for us or what the hell that was. I guarantee you, I wasn't enjoying it either. I wasn't drunk enough to be able to do those jumps through space. All right, that motion sickness, the only way I can combat it is a nice belly full of whiskey. So let's be completely clear. I have no idea what's going on either. But I can guarantee you this. Petra has had my back in worse situations. She is not at all going to put us in danger if she knows about it.
And let me tell you something.
Why I'm taking the warning seriously.
He says, let me tell you something. I respect faith and comfort in friends. I've known a little bit of it myself. And he looks up at the woman next to him. But Tazora Maraclay can cause problems. And anyone who is friends or puts up with her, and I should know because I used to be one of them. And the woman next to him kind of puts a hand on his shoulder, almost like, all right, take it easy. He says, can't necessarily be trusted. No, I don't know anything about this Petra of yours other than what I've seen. And yes, she wields a big hammer, and she seems like she talks a good game. But you've told me right now about these incredibly dangerous networked things that we just happen to have with us, and the Shadow Technocracy was after you group for a reason. You put all that together with someone magically connecting to the ship's computers without telling us how, causing us to jump through space without the benefit of a rift, and I get uncomfortable. That to me, in my universe, 2 + 2 = 4, and something doesn't add up about her. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing with you that something doesn't add up. I will tell you this, whatever that kid is playing with back there is a hybrid of what these things actually are. Now, when he comes back in here, I got a lot of questions for him because he's playing with a dangerous toy. I don't completely trust that kid, but I know that his ambition is profound when it comes to technology, but I saw something in him. He's got a kind heart, so he is not going to put us in danger. However, whatever that thing is, I can't guarantee, but I know for a fact that it is not whatever's going on with Petra. Petra is ashen forged. There is no technology in her. There is no mechanical elements of her. She may be reborn, and he kind of looks at his skin and, kind of looks at the, sort of ashen, look of his hand, and he says, like this. But that's not what these things are. That's not what they're connected to. And believe me when I say that thing is incredibly dangerous. If that kid does the wrong thing, it won't just take us out. It won't take the ship out. It'll take Pelseros out at the same time.
So he stares at you wordlessly for a minute, and then he, without looking at you, just like punches the console. Sleep well to the bridge. And you hear that on your intercom. Sleep well to the bridge.
I'm busy.
And he says, I don't care how damn busy you are, you'll be a lot busier in space if you don't get up to this bridge right now.
Kid, lock down the unit and come up here, please. It's okay. I got your back.
In the middle of a medical examination? Sorry.
I get that. I sleep well. I get that. I respect what you're trying to do for that thing. Right now, I need you up here. Just please trust me.
So, I say, Alfred, wake up.
Yes, Creator, I am now awakened. Does the Creator wish me to kind of eliminate things around in proximity?
I'm like,
seems slightly like looking around, like for things to eliminate.
And no eliminations right now. I would like you to be comfortable and follow me.
And it sort of stands up. Very well, Creator. I am prepared.
I walk back to the bridge.
As you walk and this thing is following you, you notice that the whirring seems to be a little less, and its movements seem to be a little bit less jerky. And at one point it says, Creator, my systems seem odd. I am experiencing somewhat less destructive pain, which would cause me to shut down and end my existence rather than experience it. Is this your doing?
Yeah.
So there's a pause, and then it says, I am pleased that I can now be more efficient. The term would perhaps be thank, and then doesn't, right?
You're welcome, buddy.
Okay, so you get up to the bridge of the ship, and Sleepwell enters, followed by the standing and moving Alfred. And
Hey,
Jarva
kid,
kind of looks at you and is like, he doesn't say anything, but he just raises an eyebrow staring at you, Aramis.
Kid, I thought you were gonna leave him
No, that's what you said
in the examination room.
to do.
Final of an examination.
But I had a better idea since I'm a medical doctor and I have a patient with me. This unit is extremely complicated, and I've already, in my very short period of time with him, given him help. Wouldn't you say so, Alfred? Don't you feel a little more comfortable?
The Creator has created more comfort within me. This is comfort that is not easy to provide. I have not experienced it before. Does the Creator wish me to provide this comfort for all in this room? He kind of looks around at everybody. His blades go up.
No, thank you, Alfred. But I turn around and
lowers his arm slowly.
I just turn around and say, see? Said I was busy.
Sleep well. If you do something wrong and he has an issue, it won't just be taking us out here. Okay? The more you mess with that thing, the more likely you could trigger something. And if you trigger that something, it will eliminate us, this ship, Pelseros, and anything else within a large sort of, diameter of this area. Like we're talking, I can't even begin to describe, because the way it was described to me, it was unfathomable. So can you at least have him shut down for a moment, just take himself out of we need to have a frank conversation.
Yeah, we're good.
Sleep well.
So Sleepwell's obviously like really kind of like enjoying the fact that Artemis is uncomfortable and this is, like he's just kind of like getting a little bit close, and just kind of like, no.
I'm only gonna say this one more time, Sleepwell. I won't be the only one paying for your mistakes. Petra and Kaz won't be paying for your mistakes. I know you value life more than anything else and you want to help people. The best thing you can do is prevent it from doing what it's designed to do in its many forms.
I agree with that. And that means understanding it. See, what you don't understand, not being a scientist like I am, is that you have to explore a problem in order to understand it and then find the right action. Inaction might lead to all sorts of terrible things happening. These things
the thing is, Sleepwell,
right? So if they're connected to each other, maybe someone else will be giving it commands. But if we can here locally take control of this Alfred unit, then we can be the ones in control. So instead of being inactive and dying who knows from what reason, we're going to take control here. In fact, I already have.
It is an illusion of control.
Prove it.
Petra, really?
Prove it.
I don't have time to play these childish games. So
does the creator wish to play a childish game? Alfred says.
Not right now, but we might have some fun with games later.
Very well, creator. I am particularly good at tick, 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 tick. And it just stops.
He likes tic-tac-toe, I tell Artemis.
I look away from Sleepwell and look back to Jarva and said, you're the one who wanted him here. I think he should go back and play. So if you've got a question, you better ask it now. And just be careful.
So Jarva has just been kind of like sort of staring, at both of you. And he says, look, you're not in my group. You're not part of my crew. I don't have control over what you do. But if your friends are asking you to do something and you're turning them down in favor of whatever that is, he kind of points at Alfred. He says, I think you might have your priorities a little fouled up. At some level, you're not one of them. At some level, you're not a mechanical thing. You're one of us, a living creature. Now, this may speak in a certain way, may talk in a certain way, but this is not living the way we are. And if you pay attention to this thing over the living creatures that you might hurt through your action, you're gonna have problems, it seems to me. Now, once we get to Pelseros, you can do what you like. But if I were you, I'd be listening to the friends that have been at your side, rather than something you just met a few cycles ago. That's just me. And he kind of leans back.
Not like that, Jarva.
Did you hear how Ernest spoke to me? Alf doesn't speak to me like that at all. He wants to play tic-tac-toe. So at this point, I'm like, Alfred, come on, we're done here.
And Alfred sort of like, very well, creator, and sort of stands up and turns around whirring and sort of departs. And as he sort of leaves and the door closes behind you, Jarvis sort of turns back to you and shrugs, and he says, "Got yourself a problem, friend. It's going to be interesting to see how you handle your little rogue, good-hearted kid back there. But he's not happy with you. He's very happy with his toy that could destroy the universe, though."
So, Jarva?
What?
Yeah, it's way worse than you think. Remember how I said that they're all connected?
Yeah?
He does the wrong thing. If I remember the count correctly, there are 16 of them. All 16 could go at the same time.
And he nods and he says, "Well, this is going to be an interesting few cycles ahead, I see." And he kind of sort of has this grim expression. And as he settles down back at the bridge, and you see the lights of Pel Saros kind of coming up in the distance, Petra, in your room, you have been looking up, sort of exploring the corners of your mind. And at one point, you've been doing this, and you hear, everything seems to be your brain, for the most part. But I mentioned there was this one spot that felt kind of sore, almost like a bruise. Do you keep touching that spot or looking around it, or do you avoid it completely?
I'm going to look around it, but avoid touching it.
Okay. So as you do that, and you're kind of looking around the edges of it, there is this one sort of in your mind, sort of spot in your mind, which feels very much almost like you're going through, like almost like a very vivid dream, this part of your mind, as you're just kind of thinking about this, like looking up at the ceiling as you're lying there in your bunk. And you have this image of, there's just sort of an image of you and Tezora, but it's you, but you don't seem to be awake. You seem to be lying back somewhere. And Tezora is like bending over you. Your eyes are closed. And there is another standing up opposite you. I beg your pardon, opposite her, standing over your body. Someone that looks a lot like Tezora, except it is a male Denduzi instead of a female Denduzi. She's kind of looking at this one, and this one is looking back. And the male sort of looks up with a smile at Tezora and says, "I wonder how long it's going to take for her to return." Simultaneous to this, elsewhere on the ship, Sleepwell, very quietly you hear behind you as Alfred is walking along, "Return." And that's where we're going to bring the session, I think, to a close.
God damn it!
Since it is 11:35, which is a little early that we would normally stop, but I wanted to make sure we did this stuff for Johnny. What, guys? I'm so sorry about the buffering and stuff, although I think we stabilized at the end. But I really hope people who'd missed this go back and listen to the VOD. This was a really good session. Like, you really handled it well, all of you. So really, 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 really good stuff. Man, I am, I just had like shivers. I love it. So let me start as I usually do with, first of all, just saying that we will have Zach back with us next month. He'll be back for our next session. And so he's awesome, and you should follow him over at Marimba Monk, also at his Twitch TV, which is now, I think, at Zach Clay. But you should follow him on his Twitch as well, because he's an awesome dude, and he will be back playing Kaz. And there will be a lot to catch him up on when we actually talk to him next time. Moving right along, Carlos, it was a great pleasure. It was actually really a pleasure to be able to actually do this right across the table from you here. So that was a lot of fun. How'd you feel about tonight, and where will the folks see you next?
Yes.
And where will they find you the next time you're doing anything significant?
So the session tonight was a ton of fun. I always sort of like want to be sure that we separate character from player. So Johnny, we're cool, right? We're cool. Johnny.
No, dude, we're not cool. We're not cool at all.
No, that sucked. All right.
Know that.
Flip tables.
No, I mean, Jarvis
Yeah, we're totally good.
definitely doesn't know how to talk to a teenager. Aramis was not doing so well either. I think, maybe you should take a shot of whiskey next time you try or something, cool those nerves down. But, he's Sleepwell is now like really trying to find his way, exert himself, try to figure out who he is. He's especially now, he's now suddenly given power that he hasn't had.
Yeah.
So he can suddenly, run with the big boys in a way that he hasn't been able to before. So he's definitely putting the universe in danger, at that point of the understand things. And so, yeah, it's like one of my favorite literary devices is dramatic irony, where the audience knows more than the characters inside the stories do, and I think Sleepwell is like living the dramatic irony right now. So.
Yeah, he really is. It's fun. It's really. I'm actually looking forward to seeing you really kind of ran with the ball with Alfred, and so anyway, that's gonna be fun.
So I'm gonna be traveling a lot lately. Like every other weekend, I'm gonna be at a different con. So I'm gonna be at Y'all Fest, and I'm gonna be in the Los Angeles Book Review Festival. I think that might be the most recent one. And then I'm gonna be visiting schools and doing readings, and it's good stuff, So
Yeah. It's good stuff. Thank you, Carlos. And again, thank you for the book you guys should check out. Again, Sal and Gabby Break the Universe. I will be reading it with my daughter. I'll give you my own awesome, we'll see if it's awesome.
Yeah.
My own review. This book was garbage. No, I will give you my review, my honest review, and my daughter's honest review after we have read it. But I am, very happy that I was able to get it. So pleasure, Carlos.
No, pleasure was mine.
And I'm glad we were able to do this live and that we were able to sort of hold together the connection for the most part over the things. Moving right over to this side of the screen, Kat, Petra continues to build in terms of things that are going on and like more crap that she's got to deal with. So how did you feel about the crap today, and what, how do you feel about where things are going, and where will the fine folks see you next?
I thought that was a lot of fun, and I think one of the things I really enjoy about this campaign is we have just as much fun when we are role-playing as when combat is going on.
Right, yeah.
And I think it's a blast. So where can you find me? If you are in Seattle this weekend at Emerald City Comic Con, please stop by the Bard's Tower in the dealer's room. It's, I think, 1121, and say hi. I have baseball cards and tattoos and stickers and stuff to give away. Please check out the story bundle that I just curated. It's a Feminist Futures one for Women's History Month. And if you go to storybundle.com/sci-fi, you will see it there. And finally, I'm going to mention I'm part of a Kickstarter right now for an anthology called Across the Universe, which is all alternative history, Beatles stories.
Oh.
And I really want to write my story, so please go support the Kickstarter. So,
do you have a link, Kat, that you can throw in chat?
I will throw it in chat right now.
Yeah, definitely do that, because that way it'll be seen by these folks and by the VOD. I don't know who this Kickstarter thing. I mean, really, who's involved in those kinds of Kickstarter? I don't think that's going anywhere. All right, yeah. So the Across the Universe Tales of Alternative Beatles. That's so cool. That's really neat. I just want to pop that up and see. Yeah, and it's got 12 days to go, and it's $44.59, pledged of $6,000 goal, and it's got, of course, the Beatles crossing Abbey Road / the universe. This is a cool thing. You guys should do this, because you can get these things for $10. We'll get you the ebook copy, and more than that, obviously, for higher things. That's really neat. You should definitely go support Kat and support that anthology, because that's a good thing. So awesome, Kat. Thank you so much. As always, a great pleasure. Again, one of the things I like about this campaign as well is that it's I've enjoyed, first of all, having two friends and colleagues of mine that are fellow authors in a campaign collectively, along with two people that are not directly authors, but are players, people like Johnny, who obviously has played and GM'd significantly, and Zach, who's the same thing. And it's really interesting to sort of combine those things together, because I think it creates a really good dynamic. So I really enjoy that, and Kat is a big part of that. So thank you, Kat, very much, and enjoy Emerald Comic Con, and enjoy your crazy wavy antenna as time goes on. And last but certainly not least, yeah, exactly, shady. Asking for money, I don't even get stock in the company. Exactly, Aradinal. I mean, who can trust that? Last but certainly not least, Johnny, great stuff tonight. Again, really good stuff out of Aramis. I've really enjoyed seeing how Aramis develops over time. You know, this kind of, there's sort of a strange, like, almost a Han Solo, but not totally kind of vibe. Obviously, there's the drink part of it. But I feel like Aramis has really kind of started to be shaped through play. And I don't know if you feel that way, but it certainly seems that way to me. So how'd you feel about tonight, and where will the fine folks see you next?
I absolutely loved tonight. One of the things that I really enjoy about playing Aramis is that there's a significant backstory, but the backstory actually is in part involving the fact that he didn't want to be, you know, a figure, or, you know, somebody a personality. He just wanted to be left alone. So the fact that he's coming out and he's having, you know, people shape his experiences, like Sleep Well, and the challenges that are going on with that, and the sort of the larger sort of story that's going on. Yeah, that's really enjoyable. And Sleep Well, you and I are gonna have a conversation next session, buddy. I guarantee it. You can Video Store Cowboy everywhere. You can find me next on Sunday. I'm doing a playthrough with my girlfriend. We're doing a playthrough of Infocom's Leather Goddesses of Phobos online.
Oh, wow.
It is an absolutely entertaining time. It's my first playthrough. It's one of her favorite games, and we're just having a good time reading along and just kind of playing through. And we're really stuck right now. We're stuck in Cleveland, guys. This is pissing me off.
But it's also Cleveland, so I mean, welcome to the entire experience. Oh my God, that's funny. And also I think we're in a position now that I can actually say a little bit more about this, which is just that we had talked about the folks know that we were thinking about doing the Clay That Woke, and we are going to do that. Like Johnny and I are still going to do that, and that's going to be coming fairly soon. We don't want to talk about players yet, but we're thinking about different possibilities. But that is going to be going on the channel, because it's going to add another sort of piece to the channel that I don't have to be directly involved in, but I'm really excited to actually see that happen. So you will see more from Johnny. As I say, I really enjoy his GMing, and I've been obviously enjoying him as a player in this campaign as well. I am going to say goodnight to the players here, although not Carlos, because he's right here. But I'm going to say goodnight to Kat and to Johnny, and I will see you wonderful folks in April. Safe travels, everybody. Kat, enjoy Emerald Comic Con, City Comic Con. Johnny, enjoy that awesome game, and you and I will chat sometime. I think we said tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So we will chat sometime tomorrow. But otherwise, thank you all so much. Chat, can we get some love for the wonderful players? Yay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
And there we go. Okay. That is going to do it. Oh my goodness, I didn't transition properly. I'm so not a pro. All right, hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so thanks everybody for. Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on a second. That's not quite right. All right, let's deactivate that. Let's turn on this. Let's activate this. Hang on. And let's activate that. There we go. Okay. So that is going to do it for me, folks. I had a really good time doing this. I really was glad that we were able to make it happen. I apologize that we had some trouble with internet connections and things like that. But this was really a blast. And I want to remind everybody that there is more where this came from. We are going to have more Esper Genesis coming on. They are already to level 4. I anticipate that there will be more combat coming soon in all likelihood, now that they're heading back to Pel Saros. But this has been a great time, and I want to thank as well all the people from Alligator Alley who are amazing and have managed to do this. Oh, and I was waiting all night just to be able to reveal the Superman. Can't quite see it. Almost there. All right, stay on target. I'm wearing my Esper Genesis Crucible Core shirt. I am wearing for just such an occasion, because That's how I roll. So that's branding. That's how we do branding here. But I want to thank everybody for having made this awesome. It was really a good time, and I'm glad that ArtBox, the new iteration of ArtBox, worked. And other than the internet problems, but that's not the fault of ArtBox. So I'm going to be back at you guys tomorrow. I'll be doing this hopefully from a wired connection, but I will be back tomorrow with Infinity and Beyond Curse of Strahd, and that should be a really good time. And I want to remind everybody again, on Tuesday, please mark your calendars, because on Tuesday we have got the launch of Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, which is again my D&D adventure, level 1 to 3, being published by Alligator Alley Entertainment. I'm really going to need everyone's help for that and for some other publishing projects I'm involved in this year. Very excited about this adventure. I think you'll find that it's a really fun adventure, and if you've seen any of it played over Gen Con during the Writers' Symposium, you will know that it's good stuff. Yeah, I know. Meanwhile, Rob's shirt is still in the laundry. Always Rob's shirt. But in any case, so that's going to be happening. So please please mark your calendars. It's going to be starting again at noon Eastern on Tuesday, so please make sure you stop by for that. As for me, I am done now, as I said, until tomorrow. So I will be back at you folks sometime around 7 or 8 p.m., I believe. I don't remember exactly Eastern, after I have done my reading tomorrow morning early, God help me. And then, of course, my panel, which is on speculative fiction publishing. So I will have a chance to have talked to some people and thought about that and be actually presenting it to them. But thanks, everyone, for being wonderful tonight. I'm not going to do a raid because, again, internet and all that stuff is a thing. But thank you to my wonderful mods. Thank you to Aridinel, Dragonspear. Thank you to my wonderful subs, Aridinel, Dragonspear, Nonstop, Brahms, Try Guy, MD. Thank you to my wonderful viewers. Thank you to Bananaman. Thank you to Cat Rambo, about which more in a moment. Thank you to Commander Root, Demiser. Thank you to Drubix, ECAG, Jagtris, Joe BS, and thank you to Mubot, apparently. Thank you to Mr. Mano, Mrs. Dunsel. Thank you to Nyapan, Politsai, Positivity Bot for always keeping me positive. Thank you to RP Grandpa, super fun time. Thank you to Tade. Thank you to Tiedemann Nor. Thank you to you, Christensen, to V&K, Video Store Cowboy, about which more in a moment. And thank you to Virgo Praz, all wonderful viewers. Please make sure to follow the channel, check out the YouTube, the Steam, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon, check out the shop, check out the subs as well. All of that really helps. Thank you, thank you. And thank you most of all tonight to my players. Thank you to Cat Rambo. Thank you to Johnny Pittman. Thank you to Zach, who couldn't be with us, but he's awesome anyway. And thank you, of course, to Carlos Hernandez, who it was my pleasure to do this with live and in person. Thank you all so much, and I will see all of you wonderful people very soon. Until I talk to you next time, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common. The Crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.